Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geary, Stein, and Steven Show, an amazing video podcast with sports stars, entertainment celebrities, and other great guests, combining one host who has no legs, one host who lives in Duluth, Minnesota, and another host who seems to never be on the show. But now, on to the show with Troy, Dave, and maybe even Will.
That's right, everybody. We are back in business here at the Geary, Stein, and Steven Show, and I am so excited. We have such a jam-packed show for you guys tonight. We're going to talk NFL Draft. We're going to talk with an amazing guest, and we've got a big surprise for our guest tonight. But let me bring in my co-host with the most, who is in Canada, yet he is at the NFL Draft, Troy Geary, up in Ontario. And Troy, what are you doing? What's going on? Why are you in Ontario?
Well, I like Caesars, so I'm staying over here in Windsor across the river here. But great day so far.
Yeah, and you're there a little bit early, and you had the opportunity to see what the NFL was doing today. And we'll talk about that here as soon as the video loads. Thank you very much. But Troy, tell us what happened out there today.
Yeah, the NFL had a Play 60 event with the Special Olympics of Michigan with some of the top draft picks in this year's draft that are attending the draft tomorrow night. Drake May, Terry and Arnold there. You see Roger Goodell. So, yeah, it was a great it was a cold day, but it was fun event.
And what did the kids do? They just got to interact with these guys and play some football?
Yeah, they played catch. They did some drills, a little flag football action towards the end there, and yeah, it was a great event. A little cold, but I survived.
And you had the opportunity. You and Will actually talked to a couple of players, right? And
yeah.
Well, let's hear from them, and then we'll start our show.
Hey, Rome, who do you model your game after?
I would say I wanted my game after three receivers: Keenan Allen, Julio Jones, and Devontae Adams. Just because they all have different aspects, all similar size to me, I tried to take different pieces from them and add it to my game.
And how much fun was it today coming back and coming to the community and being with these kids today?
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, they were super excited. I feel like the energy was good. They were whooping me a little bit in some of these routes, so I gotta, enhance my DB game a little bit. But it was fun, to get back to them and have the opportunity. It was a blessing.
Is there any causes that you're passionate about that you'll bring to your new NFL city to give back to the community?
Definitely some way. I can't, say specifically right now exactly what that's going to be, but I'm super passionate about sports, and sports played a big role in my life growing up as a youth. So something probably involved in that, but I don't know the specifics yet.
The last one for you. Who's your favorite fictional sports character or athlete?
Favorite fictional sports character? Probably Bobby Boucher.
All right. Thanks, Ro.
What do you want to give to your next community that you represent?
Just the opportunity to, just better their lifestyle, the chance to spread my treasures and my work throughout, the city and bring it up and uplift it. It might be one day one-on-one, JC might,
So
but
JC,
he won't pull out his phone and show you a clip that's not of me.
Oh, no. Just call close.
Anyways.
Let's call close.
No pancakes.
No pancakes, only on the breakfast menu for tomorrow. And Troy, you actually said we got, I don't know if it's breaking news, but there's some stuff going on. Somebody's plane just landed.
Yeah, I saw Robert Kraft, his plane, the New England Patriots plane, just landed about 30 minutes ago. So I think they're going to take a quarterback home with them tomorrow.
Well, Lord knows they could use one. I don't think Tom Brady's coming back anytime soon. But we got a jam-packed show, and I want to bring in our guest. And this is an amazing opportunity to catch up with an old friend, Dana Jacobson, joining us. Dana, where are you? Where are you coming to us from?
So I'm in New York, and if you hear the dog, which there he is, on cue.
On cue. Hey, live TV.
And you know what? You can blame Charles Barkley because the dog is named after Charles Barkley. So it figures the dog would be mad that he's not in on the action. Sorry about the dog.
As long as Charles is on the air and he barking at that stuff. But we are so excited to have you join us today, and just kind of taking us down memory lane of that young little kid, that young person that started at ESPN, of course, working on cold pizza that evolved to First Take, and then those opportunities that you had not only at ESPN, but to go on to CBS Sports. Yeah. And now you're the big time. I thought ESPN was big, but when you are the morning anchor of a morning sports show, it's pretty awesome. And it's impressive to know you and see where you've come from, and for just joining us a little bit today. I mean, this is an impressive get for our show. So we appreciate you being here with us, Dana. And how are you enjoying New York and the Big Apple? I know it's not like Bristol.
It is not. And actually, it was literally because I lived here when I did cold pizza, I fell in love with New York. And my family, my mom's from here, but I just never thought that I would live here. I'm from the Detroit area, actually. I'm very jealous of everybody back there despite the cold weather. And like, I absolutely love being in New York and the opportunity. It's crazy what the world presents to you when you think you don't have opportunities. So being now like a news person and only doing a little bit of sports is crazy in my life, but it's great because it's feature stories and things I like doing most of the time. And the same way sports was that for me, it now these other stories are, and I get to be a fan. This. When you're doing it, you lose that little bit of fandom at times, and I'm full-on fan now, which is awesome and great.
And yet at ESPN, I'm going to screw up a couple of times.
It's okay.
At CBS, I mean, I see you on Face the Nation. Did you ever think as a little kid you'd be ending up on Face the Nation?
That was the biggest deal. So that was Super Bowl in Atlanta a few years back. And I remember when they mentioned it, like, we might use you. We think we're going to do some NFL topics. And it's the one thing that I probably was the most consistent of, like, you guys are still using me, right? You're still using me, right? I have a Face the Nation mug. No, I never thought I would be on Face the Nation. And obviously it had a sports tie. But even just we did the coronation last year. I covered the coronation for CBS News with Jeff and Michelle, my co-anchors from Saturday. That's insane to me. I don't know how you put that in a pantheon with Super Bowls and other things like that, but it is something you never dreamed of. So it takes a different cool level, if that makes sense.
And is there a little difference to being seen by millions and millions of people and having to worry about your wardrobe and pimples and all those kind of things?
You know what? I worried about all of that when I was at ESPN every day, whether it was Sports Center or Cold Pizza, or it didn't matter. Like, I worried about all that stuff. Maybe it's a different level. I don't think about the number of people that watch. We love it that more and more people are watching. What I think is amazing, my husband and I talk about this all the time. For a long time, when I first started at CBS, everybody who came up to me still would say, ESPN, Sports Center, First Take, like something like that would be the reference, Cold Pizza. And now there's more and more, I watch you on Saturday, oh my God, I love you, which is very nice. By the way, that sounded horrible. I shouldn't have said that. I love you. But it's, people always come up and it's really nice, but it's more people now from CBS. It's still, though, can you believe this? Dave, I've been gone for 12 years now, and I still get people all the time that are like, ESPN, I haven't seen you in a while. Where have you been? I'm like, a while? Like 12 years. So ESPN in its own right is, as you know, it's the Mecca. It's the mothership.
You've been doing NCAA tournaments for years now. Do you have a favorite host city that you don't normally get to?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. For me, because I had a run where I was in Pittsburgh a ton, and it's a great place to do those first and second round games because everybody comes out, and that might surprise some people. I don't know. We did Des Moines, which for me had a tie because I finished high school there, but it was the same thing. Such a great crowd. Honestly, there's so many. And I think for me, sometimes is there a tie? Is there a personal tie, or is it a city that you really want to get to that you haven't been to? Same as Des Moines. I got to Sacramento, not this past year, but the year before. And that's where I started my sports career, really, for the most part, working in local there. So after being there for 6 years doing sports and going back, I think I'd gone back to do one ESPN story there, but getting to go back and cover the tournament, that was a really special sort of moment. So it's almost like they're all special in different ways, but some of the ones I mentioned definitely have been favorites of mine for those first and second rounds.
And it was great to see you be a part of the coverage this year. Not far enough for me, but let's move to the other side, because I think this person captivated college basketball like no one ever has, male or female. So, what did Caitlin Clark mean to college basketball this year and to women's sports?
It's incredible. So in covering sports for the amount of time I have now, then the thing you'd hear 10 years ago, I'd hear it. Why aren't we doing more in women's sports? Why isn't there more coverage? And you'd have this great debate of, well, if you put it on more, would more people watch? Or do you need more people to be clamoring for it and then they'll watch? And what happened this year was like the perfect storm of all of that. I think thanks in large part to other sports leagues, the NWSL certainly has helped, and women's soccer in general, in bringing a fan base that maybe wouldn't have been there before to women's sports. And then you had a player like Caitlin Clark who just could shoot the you-know-what out of the ball, and people loved it. I know everybody says the women's game, they're not dunking. It's not exciting. Well, guess what? The men are shooting threes too. It's not about the paint either. Not saying they can't dunk. They're great dunks. They're amazing dunks. We know this. But it's different now. And I think it's the perfect time and the perfect storm of finding the right player. And it wasn't just Caitlin. I mean, you look at Angel, you look at some of these Alyssa Peely, like all these different players that brought something to the game. Juju at USC, fabulous freshman. And it was the right time because I think people were open to it and no longer saying, they're not the men I don't want to watch. And the flip side, and this is a reality for the men's game, when you have a lot of the one and dones, people stop remembering all the names. They don't know as many of the men's college basketball players, and the women have been there and they've been hearing these names and they've been seeing them maybe, and it just keeps coming back and back. And I think she brought in people that never would have watched before. It's amazing to see all these WNBA teams selling out already for this season because people want to go see her, and they've excited fan bases about all the players. And it's just sort of the proof that sometimes it may take time, but the quality athletes, the players, the way they play the game are finally maybe being recognized now the way everybody wanted 20 years ago. Maybe in society we weren't ready. I don't know. Ask somebody like Cheryl Miller whether we were ready, or Cheryl Swoops or Lisa Leslie, and these players that all came before. They were amazing players in their own right, but maybe now it's just that we're all more open to it.
I'm excited. I can't believe it. And the only part that you hear disparagingly, and we don't have to go on this, is when you find out what her salary is going to be for a WNBA rookie, and then you find out she's going to have a 5-figure deal for a shoe. It still doesn't seem right.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. So my husband is a broadcaster for the Celtics. He's the voice of the Celtics, and we talk about the NBA compared to the WNBA a lot. And we had this discussion with our son, our 12-year-old son, because when that came up, it was like, whoa. It is the thing of what are these leagues making and what can they afford to pay? And it is a horrible discrepancy, but where was the NBA? Go back, I don't know how many years you'd have to go back. What's the WNBA now? Like 30 years in? It's horrible that I can't remember. But, I do think we have to consider that. And it's not a knock on her or any of the women playing. But there are economic realities. And by the way, some of those can be made up if more sponsors would step up to the plate and start contributing money equally to the women's game as they do the men's game. And you see it in soccer a little bit in the NWSL. Ally is one of their sponsors, that it's equal money. They don't contribute a different amount, whether it's a men's sponsorship or a women's. And I think some of the sponsors like that need to start looking at it and supporting the game as a whole to help build it in that way. And then maybe you'll start seeing the salaries rise. But it's jaw-dropping when you see it.
And you must know something about sponsors because you wanted to lead into the segue for our first commercial break. Stick with us. We've got a big surprise coming up out of break. You're watching Geary, Stein, and Stevens with our good friend Dana Jacobson joining us from New York. Stick with us, Geary, Stein, and Stevens. All right, here we are at this amazing Ditka and Jaws Cigars with the stars and our friends at La Fratellanza. Have given us these amazing cigars. We had a box and they're gone. Everybody here has been coming up and they say this is one of the best cigars. It's not even supposed to be here, and now they're going crazy.
Rod Jaworski, Brian Urlacher, Warren Sapp. Everybody loves these cigars. So if you go to LaFratellanzaCigars.com, use the code GS20, you get 20% off of one of their boxes. I mean, these things, like I said, we put them down and they were gone in seconds. Everybody loves them. I mean, this is a great event, too.
I know, but holy cow, and I haven't smoked one yet. I haven't even gotten to taste it. They're just out of the Dominican Republic. They've just released them, and again, it's a labor of love for these guys that put this together. So I'm excited to have them be a part of the Super Bowl, and in fact, they were the biggest hit here, and I wish we had more boxes.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they just started producing these things, and they cannot keep them produced fast enough around the shelf. They're just keep going out, but they're ramping up production, so they're going to be everywhere soon. So get yours today. Go to their website, La Fredenza Cigars.com. Use the code GSS20 for 20% off a great box of 10 cigars.
All right, let's go find Jaws and light this baby up.
I'm excited to light it.
Man, it's about time I found a shirt that fits my frame.
I love the fit. It's definitely a little looser here than my other shirts. It kind of makes me feel a little more buff, you know?
You seeing this? I'm 6'5". I can't do this with other shirts.
I feel like I'm getting a designer shirt for a fraction of the price. It fits the way you want, everywhere you want. And I look pretty dang good too, don't I? All right, that's our freshcleanthreads.com. Don't forget that show code GSS show. What's it going to do? It's going to get you 20% off some really awesome shirts. But let's go back to our show and our guest, and this is going to be fun. Dana Jacobson joining us. Dana, how early do you have to get up on those Saturday mornings?
The Saturday, my wake up is 3 or 3:30, sort of depending on the Saturday and what I have to do. So very early, and it's hard to go to sleep when you're not doing it 5 days a week. So it's not a big sleep night, Friday into Saturday. We'll leave it at that.
And you had to get up early in those days after that cold pizza, and there's your good old partner, Jay Crawford, right there.
Yeah.
What was it like to work with Jay?
I loved it. It's so funny. I hope he tells the story the same way that I do, but in the beginning, we just didn't see eye to eye right away. And it took a few weeks and a few people sort of saying, come on, what's going on? And we just realized we had so much in common, and the bond with him, it's a brother. I mean, I adore him still. I don't see him or talk to him that often, but he came to my wedding. I just working with him. He was silly. He was the silly one. I was like, let's go. It almost reminded me, this is crazy to say, it's like what my husband and I are like right now. Well, he'll be messing around with something and I'm like, come on, we're late. We got it. And he looks at me like, just relax. So I need the just relax in my life. And maybe he needed me being like, come on, let's go. Come on. So it was awesome. Absolutely incredible. Not that cheering at Ohio State. No, I'm just kidding. That was amazing. That was an incredible moment because it was just a cool thing, even though it was a horrible reason, paying off a Michigan loss. So, yeah.
Jay, what do you think about making those bets? I mean, that's been a long time, but you always put Dana on the So yeah, joining us tonight, Dana's old co-host from First Take, Cold Pizza, ESPN, Jay Crawford joining us. And Jay, thanks for taking some time to join us and celebrate her career. So I can just turn this over to you guys for a little bit. You guys can talk to Camp and catch up. This is a great moment. Thanks.
I don't know why I can't. It's probably something I'm doing wrong. I don't see anybody. I just see the return. And that's not going to work. Okay, no. Now I'm scanning down. There's that pretty face.
Because you were doing the pen drop, right? You were doing the pen drop right before it started. You were ready to go.
I was busy goofing around, as I so often do. Dana, I got to tell you, I had a real belly laugh hearing you say you got to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right?
I'm asked this all the time. What do you most miss about ESPN and really the cold pizza days? And the one thing that I never have to hesitate, the one thing I will never miss was that early alarm clock going off, because that sucked. I honestly, now it seems like it was another lifetime ago.
I know.
But all that was brutal.
But you guys had so much camaraderie and friendship and fun. And talk about these bets. How these bets start?
Why didn't I
Where did you get these pictures?
I'm thinking, Jay, why didn't I keep the bets up? I finally could have had you pay off some of them now.
I don't know why. We used to do them every year. I think what happened, because I've got some other Michigan friends that I make these bets with regularly. What happened with them, and probably with us too, they got so sick of losing. And to be perfectly honest, I got so sick of winning. It wasn't fun.
We had a hard time coming up. I do remember we did one after I left. And we did something at Lincoln Center. I had to go in a Michigan hat and some other stuff. And literally, I think we ran out of what could I do that would pay off the bet in some way.
We did, yeah. And it just, I mean, God, it seemed like the entire time we were together, Michigan never beat Ohio State.
I had one win. I remember I had one win.
Well, now, so we actually this morning celebrated our 500th episode of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. It's a 2-hour daily show. We've had a blast doing it. And this is hilarious. Leroy Horde is one of our football analysts that comes on with us once a week. And I've been just brutal on Leroy, but he pointed out today that it's been 1,500 days more, like 1,600 days since Ohio State has beaten Michigan. So the tables have turned.
But I remember that's kind of what it was. When we came into the show, Michigan had been up and had been winning, and it flipped that way. And
You're
actually,
right.
It's so funny. I do have to tell you one thing because it just happened at the Super Bowl this year.
Uh-huh.
And now I'm going to forget which McCourty it was. I think it was Jason McCourty was in the CBS green room area. And I hadn't seen him probably since we did the show. No, I take that back. I saw him on the field when they won the Super Bowl. But like in a moment where you could have a chat. And somebody went to introduce us. And I said, well, he won't remember, but I did. He's like, no, I do. First take. We did that brothers thing. I'm like, sibling says it was the greatest game ever. But I thought it was hysterical. So this was a thing that we did on the show where whenever we had the Gronkowskis on, I think.
They did it with us.
And we do it like the newlywed game. But it was like Jay and I were married and like the siblings were married. It was, to this day, it's still one of my favorite things we've done. And I loved that he loved it. It was so awesome.
Yeah, it did. It left a mark on everybody that played it. It was a lot of fun. And you're right. You know, like for years, Dana was my TV wife. And we bickered like a married couple. I mean, it was
Totally
exactly
did.
like Dana was totally the female in the relationship. Jay, you better hurry up. We're going to be late. Jay, and I'm just goofing around or whatever. But when we would miss one of the answers, I just remember we'd get I'm like, Dana, how do you not know that that's not the answer?
Right. Because we did spend so much time together and we did, like Dave, you asked, what was it like working together? Like we have so much in common. It's crazy. Like,
well, the Midwest thing to start it out.
Yeah. And even if they were opposite things, like we're just, I always feel like it was the greatest pairing that nobody knew they were making at the time. Yeah. And it, by the way, no lie, this picture, you probably can't see it, sits next to, right in this area. This is Jay and I freezing our asses off, excuse my language, in Vegas doing a show for a week. And when everybody was cold at the Super Bowl this year, I'm like, do you people not know? It's Vegas. It's freezing cold. Are you kidding me? So
and we were doing Dana, do you remember we were doing the show like at 2:00 in the morning, Vegas time, because it was easier to tape. Like once all the West Coast games were over, we would tape them. And I remember we had CC Sabathia up on the rooftop of the Caesars or wherever our set was. Yeah. And it was like 2 a.m. and I'm like, how are we getting these guys to come in and be guests on the show? And I love that you have a piece of memorabilia within an arm's reach, because in my bookcase here, I keep a lot of different memorabilia things. And look at there.
That's awesome. I also have, the, oh wait, Jay, you got, I know I disappeared. Hang on.
All right.
Stolen off the set, which is, I don't think, oh my God, did it disappear? Hugh Jackman signed it because he's Wolverine when he was on the show. Oh my God, I think it's been sitting in the sun. I don't think I can see it. Yeah, so sorry, memories, all within an arm's reach. Oh, that's so sad.
Dana, speaking of getting someone to sign a piece of memorabilia or a souvenir or whatever, I don't know if you remembered or not, but we had a lot of items on our set when we were Cold Pizza in New York.
Yeah.
And there was a catcher's mask. There was a red catcher's mask.
Kind of remember it, yeah.
I had asked Jorge Posada when he was in as a guest to sign it. So he's put his signature on one side of the inside mask, of the inside cushion. And then later we had Jason Varitek on the show. And I thought, wouldn't it be an incredible coup if I could get, because they usually will not sign something like the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry. That was the height of the rivalry. They hated each other. So I remember saying, I want to get Varitek to sign this mask too. I would have the catchers from, the era when the rivalry was at its peak. But I knew I couldn't let him see Posada's signature on the mask or he wouldn't sign it. So I put my hands over the part of the mask that Posada had signed, and I held it while Veritek signed the other side.
That's awesome.
So I have one of one, because when the show moved to Connecticut, they said, you guys can go take whatever memorabilia you want. And I said, I get first pick. I'm the only one that was here from the beginning. Yep. And I'm taking that catcher's mask because that's going to be worth something someday.
That's awesome.
So it's one of one. Now I hope now I have to hope the signatures didn't fade like yours.
I know. That's why I was like, oh my God, this is
We'll have to get Hugh Jackman on the phone and sign it.
Oh my God.
He's got a movie coming out.
It on the top barely. This is horrible. Yeah.
Dana, I haven't seen you since your wedding.
I know.
Which was a lovely evening. It was an awesome event. It was great to be there. I love that you thought enough of our relationship to let us share in that day. It was just, I'll never forget it. And I think of all of the things that happened during my 17 years there. I really do think the thing that brought me the most joy was seeing you come together with Sean and you guys. It was just, I was rooting so hard for that. And
they had to live through a lot of Dana heartache and bad relationships.
I was there for it, though.
And really bad times. And everybody on that show sort of had to deal with some of that. So,
hey, when you're a family like we were, you pick one another up. And I'm just thrilled that, you found your happily ever after. And I don't know Sean well, but I knew him a little bit from the show, and then just meeting him and getting reacquainted with him again at the wedding. Just everything seemed so perfect.
I know. So well, you know what? If the NBA playoffs work the way that it looks like right now, you may
we'll be seeing Sean.
Cleveland. You can spend some time with him.
Yeah, I will definitely be seeing Sean if the form holds right now.
And I'm so happy too, as you mentioned it, Jay, because Dana and I used to talk back in the Sports Center days and everything, how miserable we were. We were never going to find a spouse or a husband. I mean, you don't move to Bristol unless you have somebody already. So, so it's been great to see her happiness. And Jay, before I let you go, I mean, do you guys ever look back and go, hey, we kind of created this daytime talk that's on ESPN now? You guys started with all these guys, the Skip Baylesses and the Stephen A's, who kind of got their start on your shows, and everybody said, oh, this talk's never going to work and nobody wants to hear it at this time of day. And now that's all we see on ESPN is a bunch of screaming talking heads.
Dave, it's funny. Not even just the debate. I mean, I don't even know that we started the debate genre, because there were other shows, I think, that were probably doing it. I think Around the Horn and PTI preceded us. But I know that I share in Dana's pride in this. When we launched in 2003, all of the media was very skeptical that there was even that there was a need for what we were doing. Everybody kept saying, first of all, men are going to work, they're going to school, they're going to college, whatever. There's not available viewers to make a show like this thrive. And one by one, the big papers came in, Philly Inquirer, LA Times, all of them came to do features on us when we launched. And you could read between the lines. What they would say without saying it is, this thing is going to be here for a minute and then it'll be gone, but it's a cool experiment. But, at the time, and this was pointed out to us a million times by different critics, there was no live sports television in the morning. Nothing. In fact, really, the only thing in that space was Sports Center reruns, and it dominated. And Dana, you know this well. Within a number of years, Sports Center had scrapped the overnight reruns in the morning because our ratings had chewed into their numbers so drastically, because it didn't take long for the viewers to realize, I've heard Stuart Scott read that same highlight 8 times.
Right.
That's not live.
Yeah.
But they would watch us, and we weren't just showing them what had happened the night before. We were reacting to what had happened with live time real guests. And it changed the dynamic of morning sports television, because when you get up at 8 o'clock in the morning now and you flip around, there's 12, 15 different live sports shows that
baseball,
didn't exist.
Yeah.
Everything. They're all doing it. It's crazy. And so I know that, Dana, you must feel the same way. I feel like we were pioneers. You know, we sort of forged that trail that hadn't been traveled before. And I think as I look back on my time at ESPN, the one thing that I think I'm most proud of is that we blazed a trail for all of these shows now. Get Up Now is essentially what Cold Pizza was 15 or 20 years after we launched it. You know?
With a guy behind the scenes that was a part of our show too, the great Pete McConville.
Our brother from another mother, Pete McConville.
I mean, it is, Jay, you said it best. It's really gratifying. I mean, you're right. There was debate on TV, but what we did in combining it, it's why I will always say I loved First Take Cold Pizza with debate in it, not just a debate show.
Couldn't agree more.
We did different interviews. I interviewed the Geico pothole when there was a pothole at some NASCAR race or something, and we got the voice of the Geico pothole that had been a totally different ad, because it was like, how do you do this differently? How do you tell this story differently? The number of coaches I meet now that were on our show as players, and that's a standout moment. We were doing the things that obviously everybody does now, but nobody did then. And so, it's a huge, definitely the thing I take the most pride in from ESPN, and the thing that I look back on and say, we didn't know how good we had it when we had it. And I wish I did. And it's why on my Saturday show now, I appreciate it very differently, because while it's different, it is that same thing. And Jay, I know you can appreciate this, where the chemistry just kind of works, and the behind the scenes people, and it's a family, and it's the little engine that could, and you're the redheaded stepchild sort of in there, but you do your thing, and you're so proud of what you do. And you know that it doesn't happen like that. It won't happen again. It's too hard to find that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It won't. And we were very lucky, and I'm honored, and I know you are, to be a part of that whole thing. And I mean, if nothing else, it did really help launch into superstardom Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith. And I'm glad that I know you get the residual check every month too, Dana. And it's
Rocky
nice
Balboa.
when they send us those residuals.
17 cents.
Hey, we got in a Rocky movie. Come on.
We did. We got in
Rocky Balboa.
movie.
That is a
Well, there we
residual
go.
check.
Yes, and those checks do come like every 3 months or so. So, you know, it was a win-win all the way around. Dana, we don't see each other enough.
I know.
I know.
I was
the
in
love never
Cleveland
fades.
last year. I called too late. We did a flyby. We literally drove in the morning, went to the game, and left.
Yeah,
So
it was.
promise.
And I
We
think I
have
was
to
out
make
of
it
town
happen.
when you came.
Yeah. We have to make it happen.
Yes, we absolutely do. It's great to see you, Dave. Thanks for facilitating this whole thing and making it work.
Yeah, Jay, before you go, I got a quick question for you, Jay.
Sure.
I just want to know what you've been up to, and what's your outlook for your Browns for 2024?
I've been for the last 5 years, which blows my mind. I just can't believe it's been 5 years. But for the last 5 years, I've been at NBC3 in Cleveland. I wanted a clean break from sports. And when I say clean break, I mean of the things that I was listening to once my contract finally expired and I could go back to work. I had decided that, you know what, the sports thing is just, I'm done with it. So I was pitched a show here, which was a news show, but was different. It's very, very similar, Dana, to what we were doing with Cold Pizza. And like, it's not a conventional newscast. I can't be Ron Burgundy. Who are we kidding? But we have conversations about news items of the day. It's a much different show. We've had great success with it. In our first year, we won an Emmy. It's really, it's a labor of love for me. But about 2 years ago, Tegna, who owns 62 stations nationally, including WKYC3 in Cleveland, came to me and said, we've got an idea. And whenever I hear that, my ears go up because it reminded me of Cold Pizza. We want to start something that has never been done. We want to do a streaming sports show called the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We want to launch it and have Cleveland be the pilot. And we want to start one in all of our markets, the Ultimate Seattle Sports Show, the Ultimate Denver Sports Show, the Ultimate Dallas, Denver, all these major cities, Minneapolis. So I was honored that they had come to me and said, we want to do this in Cleveland because of your experience at ESPN and of your experience of doing a 2-hour daily show, because this is a grind. It's basically cold pizza. It really is. And today we celebrated our 500th episode. I have an absolute blast doing this thing. In May 9th will be our 2-year anniversary, but we've already gone over the 20 million view mark. And for people that understand the YouTube universe, which I didn't, by the way, we're in the 0.5% highest rated YouTube shows in existence. And it was just the same thing as cold pizza. It was an idea. They didn't know if it would work. They went all in. They went, big studio, big cast, the crew, everything. And it's been a blast. So that's what I do daily. And we talk about the Browns often. And what are the Browns going to be next year? It could be 12-5. They could be 5-12. What is Deshaun Watson going to do? That's the big question.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch. And
one last thing.
Yeah.
Before I go, first prediction here. Okay, you're hearing this first. In Super Bowl 59, when the Browns meet the Lions, Dana, we have to meet up.
I know. Do you remember? At ESPN the weekend? We did that. We did one of those you know how the whole thing is like your dream, like what? And it was. I'm like, the Lions just won the Super Bowl, and Jay did the Browns just won the Super Bowl. Where are you going? I'm going to Disneyland. Yeah,
that's right.
Awesome. Yeah,
we can dream.
We can.
I don't know where they're going, but I would love it if Detroit and Cleveland could knock down these long droughts at the same time and meet the Super Bowl. That would be awesome.
Well, Dana, before we let him go, you can remind Jay of one thing of who won the national championship.
Hail to the victors, baby. Yeah.
I haven't seen Jay.
Oh, come on.
Hey, I've got some sideline tape I can, if you're interested.
I'm pretty sure we did okay when we didn't have that tape.
Yeah, I had to. When I was at the Big Ten tournament, they kicked me out of the arena because I was doing a pregame. They thought I was stealing stuff. So,
yeah, now they're very sensitive about that stuff. Now, I will say that I think Harbaugh is going to be the coach of the year this year in the NFL. The roster's there. They just needed leadership, and I think they're probably going to be the most improved team. And I think Michigan's going to miss him. Let me just put it that way.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I think Sherrod Moore is the right person to step up into that place, especially after things that have happened. But there is no doubt they will miss him. And having been around the program like a little bit while he was there, I'm sorry. It's a different breed, and it's a different thing that he brought there. And I'd love to see it continue. I'm not saying that it can't. It will just be different. There's some great coaches in that staff right now. If they can keep that up because they were coaching under him, it'd be amazing.
I'll see you in November, though.
Yeah. Thanks again,
I like our chances this year. That's all
We'll make the bet this year.
Oh, it's back on for sure, because I feel real confident this year.
Celtics
guys, thanks, man. Dave, good to see you. Dana, take care.
Yeah, hey, I haven't seen you since we were on the airplane together. And a special shout out to Sean Pagano, who hooked us up. Just happened to be standing next to one of your buddies in life and said, "Oh, I've got Dana on the show."
That's so Jay.
Crawford's my buddy. So thank
Serendipitous. You. The guy used to be my intern when I was working at Fox 61 in Hartford, and then I later hired him as my producer in Columbia. We've been friends all these years. He sent me this random text yesterday. Hey, can you surprise Dana on Dave Stevens' show? And I'm basically like, the hell is this? What? And I said, of course.
Of course.
Well, thank you for being a part of this today. And we'll let you go and we'll wrap things up with Dana. Jay, best of luck and go Browns.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, there's your surprise,
That was
Dana.
an awesome surprise.
And,
that's awesome.
I've thrown all my shot sheets and everything out because we've just about come out. But I always like to wrap things up when I say, I don't have legs and I leave my legacy. You've done so much. What do you think your tombstone, or what do you want Dana Jacobson to be known as? Reporter or journalist? Or, I mean, you're far from away from being on 60 Minutes with those old folks, but I just wonder what you're looking for.
Storyteller. I mean, in all of those things, the thing I love doing in everything I do, first of all, the thing that I've learned, and we joked about it a little with Jay, the first thing on that tombstone would be mom. My kid, my stepson is my everything in my world, and as are all my little fur babies. He has brought a joy in my life that I did not realize could be there. Love him. I traded teams. I gave up my Pistons for the Celtics for him. And I know that seems like, oh, who wouldn't do that? But I am a diehard Detroit fan-based person. So That would be first. And then when it comes to work, just a storyteller who listened and tried to share everyone else's story with the world, because that's what I love doing. I love sitting down with somebody, hearing their story, and then trying to bring it to somebody else that may not hear it. And when we do it and we do it right, I mean, there's no other feeling like that. To see somebody feel like they've been heard, and that's what we do a lot of. And I know maybe that seems really heavy for some of the light features we do, but it kind of goes across the board. Even when it's a lighthearted feature, it's just amazing to share stories and make people happy. Especially nowadays, we need to be happy, and sports always did that for people. It's nice now that I get to do that in another venue and bring people some joy.
I got one last one for you, Dana. Out of all the major stories that you've been on the front lines at CBS, which one sticks out in your mind and why?
There are two. One is it was horrendous, and the other was joyous. I went to cover a duck boat accident in Missouri where over a dozen people had died. And for me, that's obviously not my usual genre. And I talked to a young girl who'd been on this boat, and her father and her brother had died. Her mom wasn't there, so she and her mom were alive. And just the pain that she was feeling, and maybe this is why when I say storyteller, this is some of what I mean. There was something in her there was some feeling of being able to share that I could tell lifted a little something for her. She had so much to go through, but hearing a stranger say to her, "It's not your fault," being able to talk about her father and her brother. People always ask, why would somebody talk after a tragedy like that? Sometimes that is why. They just want to talk. And doing that, and I believe doing it with a sensitivity that maybe not everybody does. I was really proud of what we did. I can almost cry right now thinking about this poor girl. But that was one I was proud that it was me doing it and that I did it my way and with that sensitivity. And then the other I mentioned, the coronation. I mean, I was in front of freaking Buckingham Palace and seeing these gold carriages right in front of me. And I'm a girl who grew up dreaming of being a princess and reading fairy tales, and in the time of Charles and Diana when it was happy. And I was in my glory being able to cover it. It was so cool to do the research. It was unbelievable. There's Barkley again. It was unbelievable stuff. So that will always, at least right now, stay in that high end of totally different, as you can see, like such different things. But those two really stand out for me.
Well, speaking of standout, we actually have a Will Stein sighting. So our Will is joining us just in time to hear Barkley serenade. Will, before we wrap, you got one question to throw out at Dana.
Hey, it's been a busy day all day here at the NFL draft with all of my friends, Troy and myself, covering the NFL draft. With ESPN, you've been a legacy at ESPN. What's your biggest memory at ESPN that you can share with the audience?
I mean, I think it's the overall thing of cold pizza. It really was such a special show to be on. Nobody thought we were going to do anything. When I went to Cold Pizza, like my difference of Jay and I being on there, Jay started it. I went when they'd pretty much given up on it. They took it over in a different division. Mike McQuaid, who's a name that people may know behind the scenes, was taking it over. Pete McConville was already working there behind the scenes. They got rid of everybody but Jay. And then they had added Skip and Woody to do debate at the time. And they brought me in instead of the three women that had been on before. And it was like, just go down there. We're not expecting much. Like, it was crazy. And I do remember, I don't remember who it was that said it, but they're like, if you can change the show, if you can fix this, you guys can stay in New York. And we turned that around from it didn't have a rating. It got an asterisk. Nobody was watching.
Color bars had higher ratings than you guys.
It was not. And we turned that around, and we turned it around. Jay mentioned this, but it was like in this era of everybody was expecting it to fail, and people had bad connotations of it when we were changing it. And it was like hard for them to accept when it was getting better. So honestly, of all of the things that I did, I mean, they're snapshot moments. I did the X Games for a while, and I remember Travis Pastrana and one of his flips that he did, and Jake Brown falling on one of the ramps, like all these different things. But I think the show, being a part of that show that really did change sports television in a way, certainly morning sports television, I will forever, that is the part of ESPN that I will always treasure the most.
Well, it's so great to have known you and watched you, and you're still so young. So I'm figuring another 20 or 30 years, we'll be seeing you becoming like almost like a Barbara Walters and have your own specials and things like that, right?
I hope so. That'd be amazing. From as my mother would say, from your mouth to God's ears. That would be great.
Well, Dana, thanks for taking some time. We're going to catch up with Will for just a second. Troy, you want to say goodbye?
Yeah, and go Celtics.
They are up by 5 right now. I have them on right here. I couldn't help it. Thank you, guys. This was really, really a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dana. Enjoy and best of luck to your family. And I'm so glad you're happy. That's the most important thing. So, all right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
A legend joining us, Dana Jacobson, coming to us from New York. Will, before we wrap, what do your Vikings have up the sleeve? Because I see you posting all kinds of things like Jefferson's getting traded. They're going to move up. So what the heck's going on?
So I feel like the Vikings are going to trade up, but I think Drake May is going to fall a little bit more than people think. I have a feeling we make a trade with the Atlanta Falcons to make Drake May our starting quarterback with the 8th overall pick. I look forward to seeing what happens tomorrow. I've been around a lot of fans today. It's been chaos already with what I've seen in Detroit, and Troy can attest for everything that we saw. And I'm just looking forward to see a great first round tomorrow, and 32 lucky individuals are going to continue their football careers knowing where they're going to go next. And I look forward to being a part of their journeys in their successful career, no matter where they go. Whether it's Drake May, hopefully to the Minnesota Vikings, or whether it's J.J. McCarthy or Jaden Daniels or whoever. But we have to address the quarterback need. There's no question about it.
Yeah, and then we can talk about who's going to carry the ball. But we got a big day planned for everybody tomorrow. I'll be in Miami for a D3 day camp, but I'll be at the Miami Dolphins party. They're going to draft 21st. And, of course, Troy and Will with our photog is going to be at the draft tomorrow. Troy, what are you looking for, man? I mean, this is it's going to be exciting. We get to be in front row for that.
Yeah, but before we get to draft, I'm going to be hanging out with Jimmy Darts tomorrow morning. Big TikToker. If you haven't seen his stuff, go check it out. And then from 1 to 4, we're going to be at a financial conference with Ric Flair and Megatron, Calvin Johnson.
Woo!
So I'll have some interviews with and then we'll kick off the draft coverage first round tomorrow night. So it's going to be a busy day tomorrow, but it's going to be a fun day.
What a great show. Troy and I didn't have to do any heavy lifting. I mean, Jay and Dana kind of took over, so a one-of-a-kind show. Thanks again to our friends and family. And again, you can watch all of these shows on your home TV, on Roku. You can find us on social media. Follow Will. In fact, I didn't get to download the guy with the shirt, but you had a fan out there wearing a Will Stein shirt already at the draft. So we have those fans out there, and we wouldn't be able to have that success without you and our friends.
Yeah, Will has fans everywhere. It's amazing.
So
somebody
for Troy,
shirt with me wearing the Detroit Lions hoodie.
I forgot to download it, but we'll get it out there tomorrow.
We got to share that photo. That's pretty classic.
We will.
And the Raiders hat, too, so because everybody thinks I'm a Raiders fan now.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know. Even Joe Biden.
Yeah. All right. Well, for myself, Troy, say goodbye.
Yeah, good night.
And Will, we always say where in the world is Will, but Troy's in Ontario, you're across the street in Detroit, and I'm here in Bristol. So thanks again, everybody, for following us. Follow us on all social media platforms or wherever you download your podcasts. What a great show. I'm going to go home. I'm hungry for some cold pizza now. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Just don't microwave the pizza when you eat it for breakfast, ladies and gentlemen.
Even if it's in aluminum foil. Take care.
This guy.
Thank you for tuning in to the Geary, Stein, and Steven Show. Follow us on social media. Watch us on yourhometv.com, or now we're on Roku. Download it and watch us, and thanks for tuning in. Until next time, America.